So for example, let's take a few common verbs, and this will help some of the people listening right now. And by the way, whether you're African American, African, European, wherever you're from, Brazilian, there's a lot of Brazilians that want to learn Yoruba too. Hopefully what we can do is we can kind of show them that just to start with a few words and just start learning, and then you can always follow up with her lessons online. But let's talk about, like, let's say a few verbs, like, okay, like eat. You said, did you say what that was?
Jeun.
Gel. So how do you spell that?
Jeun.
Jeun. Gel. Okay, so what you're saying is that so how does Yoruba address like the past, present, and future? Is there another set of words that goes with that?
So it's actually like the words around it that will make it what tense you're speaking in. So for
Okay.
example, if you're saying I am eating, it's the I am that makes it present tense. So the mon in front of jeun that makes it present. So mon jeun, I am eating.
Oh,
To
okay.
make it past, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I'm just writing that down. Go ahead.
So to make it past, all you do is remove the N in the sentence. So the N is what makes it, like the N is the present tense, like symbol.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you remove the N, you now have more gel, I ate.
Mojim, I ate. So you're taking the N away. Okay.
Exactly.
And let's say, what about, let's say talk, for example?
So sorrow.
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 How do we spell that?
Soro.
Soro. So that means talk. So would I
Mhm.
say mon soro?
Perfect. So to
I
say
am
I'm
talk
speaking, I'm talking, mon sorrow.
mon soro. Okay, so we got the I am and then we got the soro. And then past for that would be like yesterday I talked. How would we
Mo
say?
sorrow.
So now are you saying that you take away the N from the mon, or you take away the N from the june? Like when you
So,
take away.
oh no, the N from the mo.
Okay, is this because of a different word?
Oh no. So let's say mon is I am, but
Okay.
the N is what makes it like the present tense. So
Oh,
all
okay, I got confused on that. Okay, so it's taking it off the mon. So on mon june, it's mo june. Because you take
yeah,
the N off, and then soro, mo soro.
exactly. Mo sorrow.
Okay. So I talked. Okay, got it. Now, let's say that, maybe take one more word. Now, what about the idea of irregular and regular? Is there anything like that? Irregular and irregular that would change if a verb is different? Like, in English, if I say I slept
Mm-hmm.
instead of, ed. Is there anything like that in
No.
your? Okay, good.
It doesn't do that. So in Yoruba, like all of the verbs, it's all the same. So monsoon, soon is sleeping or slept. So
Mm-hmm.
monsoon is I am sleeping. Mosun is I slept.
Most
So
soon, and
once
that's
you know,
seun.
yeah, sun. So
Sun. Okay. Say what you were gonna say.
I was going to say, once you know that to say I am doing something, it's just mon and the verb. To say I did something, it's just more and the verb. And that applies for almost all of the verbs. And
Okay,
that's
so
it.
then in that case, for someone that wants to learn, from my understanding as a teacher, then what would be most important then is just really getting the definition of these verbs.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to get your Yoruba verbs, make a list, and get a nice notebook. And basically all of your, let's say maybe your top 100 verbs that you use every day: eat, sleep, drink, walk, talk. And
Mm-hmm.
then you got that, and then you start practicing your mon soro, mon jon, monsoon. That's how I would
Exactly.
do it. Is that right?
Exactly.
I'm trying to be a good
Yeah.
student.
No, that's right. And that's why I
Okay.
advise people to do. So once we learn how to say, I am doing it, I did it, and I have done it, and I will do it, you can take any verb and just run through them. And then we extend it to, I can do it.
Okay.
I won't do it. And it's the same because you're just saying, the beginning part, and then the verb. Beginning part, the verb. The beginning part will be the same for all of your verbs.
Got you. Wow, that's beautiful. So
Mhm.
now let's go back to one thing I like to talk about, which is pronunciation. Because
Mhm.
I found that teaching English, learning Portuguese, French, pronunciation is so important because if we don't get those fundamentals of how to say the words correctly, we're never really actually speaking the language correctly. Um, I made a chart for English that there's about 70 some sounds in English that I use to help teach. And that's kind of, sometimes people are surprised by that because there's 26, the alphabet, regular alphabet, but then you have like all these sounds, like A, you say three different ways, or I, three different ways. Yoruba is more tonal of a language. And I grew up with my dad trying to teach me bo, bo, and all these different sounds.
Mhm.
How many different sounds are there in Yoruba, or in general, tones or sounds? What are we working with here? What do we have to do?
So there's a lot of different sounds, but
Okay.
in terms of if you're talking tone, as in like the tone that you put on the words, there's three, right? And
Oh,
we use
okay.
do, re, mi, right? So that's that's slightly different only because that's if you know the tones on the words. So you have do, you have re, you have mi.
Okay.
So that influences how like a word will sound depending on what you mean. But that's because we have like homophones. So we
Okay.
have a lot of words that are written the same but are pronounced differently. So
Mm,
it's that tonal mark on the top that tells you how you pronounce it. For example, OKO. If you
mm-hmm.
have OKO with dots on the bottom of the O's, there's two words that come to mind first. You have car, oko,
Oko,
and husband, oko.
oko.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And husband, oko.
That's two different words.
Yeah. That's the problem a lot of people have because they
Right.
hear me say oko and oko, and they're like, "What's the difference?"
So okay, so
There
let me
is.
let me try this here. So in the beginning, oko, oko. Oh no, too
Yeah, a little. It's almost right. So oko, you are going up,
okay.
and then oko, you're coming down.
Oko, oko. We'll work on those. We'll work.
You're almost there, but
But
it's just practice.
that's what you're there for. And I just want to help people understand that this is what it takes. This is what it
Mhm.
takes. You have to be willing to just play around with the sounds. Don't feel bad about messing up. That's the the biggest lesson that I want people to take from you is that because you teach people and you understand. So and so with these tones, what else is there that's involved with the pronunciation after?
After the turns, it's just I think being confident. That's the thing, and like you said, it's so important that people understand it's okay to make mistakes. Like
Mm-hmm.
people are so afraid to like pronounce something because they and I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, listen, I don't
Do it. Yeah.
pronounce it wrong to me. That it's better that you say it wrong a million times with me, and then we can work on it. So I
Yeah.
think what's important is being confident about it because when you hear something, your mind will try and mimic it anyway. But
Yeah.
if you're a bit nervous about it, that's when you're specifically trying to pronounce it a certain way, you can end up pronouncing it wrong. But if you're just like, okay, I heard it, I'm going to try and recreate it, most often you'll get it right.
And
So
I
it's
think
just
yeah. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
no, sorry, you go,
Uh,
you go.
I was
I was
gonna say I think that once also you have like comparisons, like the vowels. Uh, is there a difference in the way that vowels are used in Yoruba? Like, for example,
yeah.
A in English, A-E-I-O-U. How would that be in Yoruba?
Yeah, so it's actually a good point. The alphabet, knowing the alphabet makes pronunciation a lot easier for you. So if you're familiar with the alphabet, the vowels, most of them, so E, O, and uh, E, O, and S, sorry. So E and O, they have two of them. So
Okay.
there's two different ways that we pronounce like certain words. Like E, you might have an A and an E. So if
Okay.
you know the alphabet, then you'll know, okay, like certain words I pronounce a certain way. Like R English A is A in Yoruba as opposed to A. So when you're saying AJA, you're saying Aja and not AJ, for example.
Oh, okay. Very, very interesting. So then, aside from that, what recommendations do you have for the way that you practice a pronunciation? Do you have something special in your lessons plans when people go to your website and sign up for lessons with you that you do that? Like, how do you give people a little bit of an idea what to expect when they do your lessons with pronunciation?
So with pronunciation, it'd be the courses are mostly a video of video
Oh,
form.
okay,
So
great.
I
Yeah.
always encourage you to kind of listen to the video and then practice. So in between, I'll be like, now I want to hear you say it. And even though I can't actually hear you, then it forces you to practice out loud. I don't just want you to watch and hear, but not practice it yourself. But I'll always explain the difference in tone. I'll always compare it to something else. Like, so this is
Oh,
oko
okay.
and not oko. Or
Good,
this is
good.
so I always highlight if there's going to be another word that looks like it, and then I'll repeat the difference so you hear it often.
Yeah,
That's
I
all.
really think for someone that's learning, once they have that and they're able to compare, we have words that sound the same in English and we know, but we're just accustomed to it. So they
Mm-hmm.
just, get accustomed to seeing these different words, which brings me to my next question, which is about vocabulary. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, I learned a lot about the brain and how vocabulary works to pick visual things. To either use a visual dictionary or use things in your house. How do you recommend people just become like a magnet for vocabulary words and just get all these Yoruba words inside to speak?
No,
What's the,
that makes sense.
yeah.
I'd probably say if you, let's say you're learning Yoruba, but when you're not learning, let's say someone asks you to pass them a book. In your mind, just say, okay, I'm passing you the iwe. So each time
Okay.
that you do something, like, oh, I'm going to bed now, mon losi ibusun, like, or like,
Mm.
I'm looking at the door, mon wo ilekun. So always, when you're saying stuff in English, just translate it in Yoruba, just so you're kind of, or if you want to say, I'm going outside, I'm going to quickly check what outside is. And then now you know in your mind what outside is. Or I want to sit on the chair, I'm sitting on the aga. So even when you're speaking
Mm.
English, just try and like pick out little words and translate them so you know what the things around your house is or the things outside are.
Wow, that just brought me to almost like a spiritual, philosophical thing because I started thinking like, wow, why don't we do that more? And I'm thinking like, wow, imagine if I was to start doing that, and I think doing that would be, it's like almost like you're inhabiting the Yoruba spirit in your body, in your life, and this is what I think is so important about what you're doing is because with a language like Yoruba, it could be lost if we don't do it, if we don't uh, share it and think about it and practice it and use it. So what you're saying is basically, if you want to learn it, just bring it back into your life a little bit. Like just you pick something up, you do something. I think we lost your audio. I think I. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can't hear me? Okay. Audio. Let's see here. I don't know.
Sorry, I think I
Can you hear me? Don't worry. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Can't hear you. I think it is. Let me see. Did you hit mute? Let me see.